Been thinking about making Philly cheesesteaks for a while. I'm glad to finally be doing it. Today I'm going to be using a chuck eye steak. First thing to do, put this in my freezer before I start making my bread. Right. First thing for my bread is I scalded 225 grams of milk and cooled it down to about 100 degrees. Put that into my bowl. Gonna add 20 grams of sugar. Give that a quick mix. On top of that, 9 grams instant dried yeast. Active dried yeast. That mixed up, just gonna let it sit there. Let it activate for about 5 minutes. It should get bubbly like a little sponge on top. You see there's a little foam on top. It's starting to get a little bubbly. Next I'm gonna add about 25 grams of beef tallow because I want to get as much beefy flavor into this as I possibly can. Like a lot of these things, like an Italian beef sandwich, I'm not cooking this all day long on the grill, getting it beefier and beefier. So I gotta add the beef wherever I can. So I'm gonna put my dough hook on, lift this sucker up, and I'm gonna turn it on low. And I'm gonna add 350 grams of bread flour I got going here. And about 10 grams of salt. And I'm just gonna let this go until it brings it all together. Probably about 4 or 5 minutes. After about 4 minutes, it's pulled it all away from the side of the bowl. That might take you 3 minutes, it might take you 5 minutes. Whatever it takes, once it's pulled away from the bowl, I'm gonna turn up the speed. Holy crap, rocking my whole table. But now I'm gonna let it do this for about 7 or 8 minutes at pretty high speed. That's really gonna work the gluten. We're going on full blast for about 8 minutes here. Let's check it out. I had mine going for about 8 minutes. So next, take a bowl, take my spray oil. Throw this dough in there. The plastic wrap doesn't quite fit my bowl, neither does my sheet pan, but I think this pizza stone will, so. Oh yeah, cover it up. Gonna leave it alone for about an hour and a half. Bring it back then. All right, my dough has been fermenting for a couple hours, so next I'm just gonna put a little flour on my board, tiny bit of flour on my bread. I'm gonna weigh this bowl real quick so I can see how much my bread weighs. 600 grams, so I'm gonna split this into 300 grams each. All right, next, I'm gonna make this into a ball. I like to do by just kind of folding it all back, kind of pinch it on the bottom, and then I'm just going to roll it around to tighten that all up. All right, take this other one, same thing, kind of fold it over, fold it up, kind of roll it back, pinch that bottom, and then just roll it around. Got my 2 balls. And I'm going to cover them with a clean towel, and I'm just going to leave them out in a cool place. I mean in a warm place, not a cool place. 70 to 75 would be perfect, probably about 20 minutes or a half hour, and I'll be back. While I'm waiting, let's slice up some beef. I'm using chuck eye for my Philly cheesesteak. Ribeye is what is usually used. There's only so many ribeyes that come on a cow, and since I get a half cow put in my freezer every year, I'm using the chuck eye, which is the beauty of getting meat in bulk like that. Not only can you get locally raised meat that's probably better quality than anything you'll find in the grocery store. Mine's grass-fed and organic, but you can get it cut how you want, which is it's pretty cool. And it makes you use cuts of meat that you might not otherwise use. Anyway, let me show you. You look at this, you can see it has a grain, especially when I pull it apart a little. That grain's going this way, which means I want to cut it this way. So, just gonna set my slicer. You could use a mandolin, whatever you can do. If you need to use a sharp knife, whatever you got that'll get it thin. See, that's getting it pretty thin here. It's gonna cook super fast. It's gonna be delicious. It's a pretty nice amount of marbling in this chuck eye. It's really almost as good as a ribeye. Well, while the bread's rising, everything's just kind of chilling. Then I'm gonna take 1 small onion, or half a large onion, either way. I don't want to dice it super fine, but just kind of chopped. Moving along on our bread, I take my sheet pan, cover it with a piece of parchment, and I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of cornmeal on the bottom. Who doesn't love a little bit of cornmeal on their rolls? Okay, going to set that aside. Now I'm going to take my bread. They've been rising for about a half hour. It's about double in size. So I'll move one of these out of the way. I'm going to take my other one. Here, let's zoom you in. Now I'm going to take my other one, put on its back. I'm gonna kind of flatten it. I'm gonna stretch it. Kind of make a little rectangle here. And I'm just gonna take it. I'm gonna kind of fold it over on itself like I'm rolling a cigar or a spliff or something. I'm just gonna roll it as tight as I can. Not always what you want to do for your cigar or your spliff, but definitely what you want to do with your roll. Then I'm just gonna take it, roll it and stretch it. Roll it and stretch it. Trying not to let any parts get bigger than the rest, keeping it even. That's looking okay. On to my sheet tray. Second one, repeat. Now, I'm gonna cover those back up. Leave them for another 45 minutes to an hour until they're almost double. Not quite double in size. If you got a really warm place, they might do it in a half hour, but probably gonna take me about 45 minutes to an hour. It's about 70 degrees in my house. Bring you back then. I almost forgot. Before I let this rise, I do kind of want to make sure that it's a little bit flat. All right, my bread had to rest for about an hour. I'm feeling okay about how much it's risen. Looking okay to me. So last thing before I put it into the oven, last time I made slashes like this, I'm gonna go down this way. Doesn't really matter. As long as you give it somewhere to release that surface tension, it's gonna be golden. And yeah, that was a little sloppy. A razor blade works better, but this is a pretty sharp knife, so it should be okay. Just about ready for the oven. One last step, I'm gonna give it a spray of water. This is a little trick, like French bread. Usually cook it with a water pan in the oven, as well as spraying it, and that's how you get that super hard crust. I don't want a super hard crust, but I think that little bit of spray is going to give me more crust. Not full French baguette crust, but just a little more. Actually, I think I'm going to give it one spray halfway through cooking. So into the oven for about 30 minutes. I'll spritz it off in 15. Okay, while that's baking, let's make some Cheese Whiz. I'm going to use 400 grams of sharp cheddar cheese and 400 grams of my homemade smoked American cheese. I'm going to melt the cheese in evaporated milk. I'm thinking that the evaporated milk will work as an emulsifier along with the sodium citrate in the American cheese. Don't know how much milk this will take, so I'm going to start small and add more if I need it. I'm going to heat that up. Once that's hot, I'm going to add my American cheese. When that's melted, I'm going to add my sharp cheddar. Now it's looking a little thick to me, so I'm going to add a little more evaporated milk. It's still a little thick, so I'm going to add some more. Now it's getting close, but I'm going to add the rest of this can. I hope I didn't make this too thin. I want a Cheese Whiz that's spreadable at room temperature. Not a saucer or liquid, and not something that could be sliced. Well, got these out of the oven. They're looking really good. It's finally time to cook these things. Some beef tallow, because I'm not cooking beef all day like the beef joints in Philadelphia. Got to get the extra beef flavor in there somehow. Set those off here where it's a little cooler. Better get the bread ready. Can't forget a little bit of salt. Without the salt, there's like no love. We're going in with the beef. It's gonna be ready real soon here. All right. Without the salt, there is no love. Dude, this meat is so soft, it pretty much just cuts with the spatula. Alright, oh man. Mixing these onions. Let's put these things down on here. Let them cook for a little bit. Oh yeah, there you go. Sweet. Oh my gosh. I think we might need some napkins for these. That chuck eye steak is, I swear it's damn near as good as a ribeye steak. Gotta get the cheese. There you go. So, gotta have a lot of Cheese Whiz because it's a cheese steak sandwich. Cheese being the first word in that sandwich name. After Philly.
We're gonna need the family linens for this one.
Yeah, that was a long-awaited Philly cheesesteak. Ready?
Cheers.
Cheers. You know, the Oklahoma onion burger really features the onion. This really features the cheese.
Cheese forward.
That cheese is really what makes this sandwich. All right, I'm gonna call Philly cheesesteak a win.
Definitely.
It's crazy though. Same ingredients as that other burger. It's like such a different sandwich.
Fully. Yeah.
It's a totally different sandwich with the exact same ingredients. Fucking good sandwich.